Alright, let us continue with Socrates Jones. Wait, where did it pick this up here? Oh, did that... Oh, okay, that's right. The Pursuit of Happiness, Chapter 4. Well, I must say, Socrates, I'm impressed. Huh? Hobbes holds significant clout here in the intelligible realm. His ideas influenced later prominent thinkers such as John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and John Rawls. I'm not familiar with Rawls, but vaguely familiar with Locke and Rousseau. They both... So yeah. Hobbes came first, introducing the social contract theory. Locke and Rousseau had their own take on it. I'm not familiar with Rawls, but probably similar. Besting him, even getting him to question the logic of his ideas, is a significant accomplishment. So does this mean Dad gets to go home now? No. The door is still closed. Indeed. Your successes here, while impressive, cannot be construed as providing an answer. They only mean that Socrates is ready to face even greater challenges. Great. Okay then. So which arrogant know-it-all do I have the honor of facing next? I believe that would be me. Wait, is that? John Stuart Mill at your service. It is! It is? Who? John Stuart Mill! One of the most prominent utilitarian philosophers, Dad! He was a member of Parliament and an early feminist as well. Ah. Mentioned him at least 4 times today. I'm sorry. I forgot on account of being dead. Not to worry, old chap. I'm sure we'll get to know each other quite well by the end of the day. Shall we begin? In our society, good comes with the accomplishment of some desirable end. However, happiness and freedom from suffering are the only things truly desirable as ends. Thus, actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote happiness, wrong as they tend to produce unhappiness. As a result, one should choose every action in order to maximize overall happiness. And there you have it, gentlemen. Happiness must be the source of all good. Ah, good is happiness. This is the core idea behind ACT utilitarianism. He's so amazing! Isn't he amazing, Dad? I guess. He's about 200 years older than you. Tone it down a notch. Well, Socrates, you have heard John's presentation. What is your intended course of action? Well, Dad, look, this is the closest thing to the nature of morality we're going to get. How do you know that? I've studied him for ages, that's how. He's brilliant. Come on, Dad, if you just acknowledge that, you can get out of here. Well, Socrates, do you accept Mill's principles? Actually, I believe I'll ask the MP a few questions if you don't mind. What? By all means, go ahead. It's only healthy for individuals to voice their queries. Trapped thoughts have no use, after all. Alright, what do you mean by that? Simply, good is created by achieving or obtaining the things people desire. Only this will improve the quality of life. Alright, to back that up, in our society, the things we value have positive effects. For example, we value good parenting because it produces good members of society. There are countless such examples. Unless you have some tangible counter-argument, I think this idea stands on its own merits. What do you mean by that? Out of all the things we can strive for, happiness is the only true end. Everything else only serves to support this end. Can you back this up? Most things which mankind values, love, peace, property, are valued because they further some other end. If we follow such value chains to their conclusions, they all come to rest on happiness. For example, peace furthers security, which furthers luxury, which furthers happiness. See? Very well reasoned. Mill believes that something can be called good as long as it increases overall happiness. What do you mean by that? If your actions make people happy, there must be something positive about them. Likewise, if your actions make people unhappy, there must be some negative quality to them. Simply put, an action is right as long as the happiness it creates. But happiness for whom? For the self or for others? The overall population. Distribution is irrelevant. Huh. Interesting. Happiness distribution. What evidence do you have to support this? This seems pretty self-sufficient to me. Fair enough. What do you mean by that? Most moral act is the one that most increases net happiness. If you need further clarification, I suggest you re-examine my previous statements. Can you back that up? My opinion is the natural product of my previous observations. Fair enough. Furthering happiness determines how right your actions are. Clearly one should take the course that furthers it the most. What are you doing? Examining his reasoning, alright? But his philosophy makes sense. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Sorry, Ari, but I can't take that risk. This seems to contradict the whole happiness distribution thing. If you have to suffer to make others around you happy, that feels like it contradicts this here. We'll try and challenge it. False. I'm sorry, but I'm not quite seeing your point, old chap. That would be because there's no point to see. I officially don't know this person. Oof, that hurts. Overall happiness. And you can try. False. I'm beginning to discover what the relevance points actually do in a normal testimony when they aren't important. So how's that related to your conclusion? Pinpointing the origin of good seems like a logical place to begin our search. Wouldn't you agree, old chap? Yes, I would. Thank you, Ariande. Your support is greatly appreciated. Sort of gives you the Cliff Notes version of what the testimony is doing. I further refined the idea of good by narrowing down the possible desirable ends. Happiness and freedom from suffering, but, as we know, of the population as a whole, not you specifically. How is that related? Narrow down the pursuit of good as far as it can be possibly narrowed, laying forth the final support for my conclusion. Now, this gets us back. If your actions make people happy, there must be something positive about them. If your actions make people unhappy, there must be something negative. My good fellow, that is my conclusion. Oh, righto then. Alright, that took me way too long to figure out here, but I think the idea that we're challenging here is that Is this really any sort of... I mean, we'll see how this goes, but the logic behind this here, I think, is that... How is it any way to live if we are... The only way to maximize overall happiness is to make ourselves suffer?
Nonsense!
John Stuart Mill. Yes, Socrates? I understand the reasoning behind your philosophy, but applying your reasoning in all situations creates some worrisome implications. What? Dad, are you serious? Mill's philosophy is perfect. You can't just go... Continue, Socrates. Gladly. The problem here is that happiness is not equivalently exchanged. It can be gained and lost in unequal measure. But your philosophy does not care how happiness is distributed. This leads to some unfortunate scenarios. Oh, really? Do explain. Let's say, for example, that I'd gain twice as much happiness from punching Hobbes in the face as he'd lose from being punched. We just want to beat up Thomas Hobbes. The guy was already pretty miserable after all. According to your philosophy, in this situation, punching Hobbes would be entirely moral, as it would increase overall happiness. As much as Hobbes was a jerk, I can't believe random violence would be the right course of action. Indeed, I think I prefer my debates not devolving into fistfights. But, Dad, that's just one example. Well then, let me provide another, Ari. Let's say there was a monster that would gain far more happiness from eating you than you'd ever gain over the course of your life. Would the moral action then be to feed yourself to the monster? Mill's philosophy would say yes, but that seems preposterous, does it not? That is a bit of an extreme example, but... Let me... think something like this. Let's say perhaps that, you could give up your afternoons to tutor your friends. You wouldn't get paid for it. It's a good, friendly thing to do. But your friend group they would gain far more happiness. They wouldn't pay you. They would gain far more happiness from you giving up your afternoons to try and drill the material into their head than you would gain from spending the time alone resting and watching Netflix or something. They're not paying you. They're not giving you happiness in return. But they'd gain more happiness than from you tutoring them for free than you would gain from going home and watching Netflix and eating KFC. So, you should make the choice to go tutor them for free then, correct? If it's entirely black and white, that's the choice you should make, if we're following this line of reasoning. Dad, what are you doing? That situation would never arise. Bringing imaginary monsters into a bait? Is that really how you intend to get home?
Nonsense!
Actually, your father raises some good points. What? But... Ariadne, he who knows only his own side of the case knows little of that. As thinkers, it is our job not only to challenge the thoughts of others, but to challenge ourselves. Both thought experiments Socrates presented are valid, and both are troubling. Judging every choice as it arises seems, upon reflection, difficult to defend. Are you serious? Please, don't let my dad run all over you. Not to worry, Ariadne. The core of my philosophy still stands strong. Allow me a moment, gentlemen, to present an altered position. Curious to see how this goes. The problem you have described can be addressed through the application of universal rules. These rules shall be chosen in order to create the most happiness as possible, with as little harm as possible. These rules may not maximize overall happiness, they will at least guarantee net happiness never decreases. Actions can be considered moral when they follow such rules. As you can see, it is still possible for happiness to be the source of morality. I believe I shall refer to this approach as rule utilitarianism. An interesting evolution of your ideas indeed. You see, Dad, Mill's philosophy is solid, as I told you. Because, you know, I actually studied this stuff. Whatever happened to me having to decide for myself? Yeah, well, that was before you hopped on the smug wagon. The smug wagon? Socrates, shall we continue? I guess so. What do you mean by this? You described to me a problem of distribution. The fact act utilitarianism does not care where happiness goes. It can be addressed by following general rules, which I will elaborate on later. Alright, let's skip pressing that any further. What do you mean by the rules? Are we talking about contracts? No. While Hobbes' theory and this one could result in some of the same guidelines, the rationale behind their existence would be different. There are certain rules which, if always followed, would make society a happier place than if they were not. These are the rules which meet the qualifications of rule utilitarianism. What evidence do you have to support this statement? As happiness is still the only ultimate end, the only rules that make sense would be the ones that further that end. Thus it makes sense that the rules which govern our actions should be chosen accordingly. What do you mean by this? Most of the time, the rules we follow should result in a net gain of happiness for society. While this may not always be the case, such as a situation where one's free speech hurts another's feelings, society is much better off if these rules are always applied than if they are never applied. You back this up? Of course, old chap. Let us consider the rule that citizens are considered innocent until proven guilty. I will demonstrate this rule increases overall happiness in most situations. With this rule, any man knows he will get a fair trial, and thus is protected from false accusation. True, sometimes guilty criminals get away as a result, but can you imagine a world where this rule was not applied? Power-hungry prosecutors would run innocent men to the ground, with defense attorneys having to fight against ridiculous odds just to prove them innocent. We'd be playing Phoenix Wright. That sounds terrible! Yes, it truly would be. Might make it an interesting game, though. I see what you did there. What do you mean by this? I believe this is clear. If you follow the rules, you will be acting morally. Back this up. Based on everything I have established here, following the rules will promote happiness most of the time. Thus we can assume those who follow the rules are performing morally. Most of the time. So even when the rules create unhappiness, we should still follow them? Well, no. Theoretically, if in a certain situation following a rule created enough unhappiness, that rule should be revamped. Broken and replaced with a more nuanced rule. Ah, how interesting. Rule nuances. See, Dad, I told you, Mills is onto something here. Now please stop being difficult and listen to what he has to say. I am listening, and I still have many questions for him. Something off about this solution. I can feel it, I just need to do a little more digging. Back to the top. How will it be addressed? Ooh, because these rules apply equally to everyone, the problem of distribution is irrelevant. They have the same chance of helping one group or individual as another. Huh, that really be the case? Alright. Most happiness possible with as little harm as possible. I mean, game's up, old chap. Oh, Dad, don't you dare throw this away. I dare. Ari, I know you idolize this man, but it's time to accept his ideas are not my way out of here. The philosophy he just proposed boils down to the same one as before. Now, hold on, I think that's a bit unfair. Is it? John Stuart Mill, you said rules should be created along lines which further happiness, correct? Of course. When the rules fail to further happiness, they should be replaced with more nuanced... Oh, who's replacing the rules and who's deciding on the rules? Yes, indeed. What's the problem? That's very different from his original idea. Is that so? Answer me this. You keep making the rules more and more nuanced, where will you wind up? Huh? You wind up with the idea we should act in order to maximize happiness. What? What? The fact is, no matter what rules Mill comes up with, there'll always be several steps removed from his original idea. And thus, they are imperfect promotions of happiness. We'll have to keep replacing these rules when they fall short until we're back where we started. Ah, excellent deduction, Socrates. Indeed, most insightful. No matter how you spin it, rule utilitarianism ultimately boils down to act utilitarianism, with a fresh coat of paint. And thus, all the problems we originally established are still there. Our happiness is just waiting for a giant monster to come and gobble it up. No. No. No! Ah! Ari has the Phoenix Wright breakdown. Ari! You're the monster, Dad. The real monster. Don't you see what you're doing? This could have been your only hope of getting back. Our only hope of getting back. Ari, You're useless, Dad. Did you even stop to consider? I wasted my life to give you this chance. What? What did you just say? What did you mean just now, Ari? I put my own life on the line so you could take the challenge. What? Are you serious? I thought if there was a chance, any chance, we should take it. But Mill is one of the best philosophers out there, and you've run right over him without a thought. You're going to wind up throwing away both of our lives for the sake of your stupid style points. Ariadne Jones. I understand where you are coming from, but your father has not done ill by your sacrifice. Not since my days in Parliament have I been subjected to such a spirited critique. Mill. Listen, both of you. Unquestionably, it is possible to do without happiness. It is done involuntarily by 19/20th of mankind. But you don't have to be among them. Alright. Why didn't you discuss this with me? Would you have taken the challenge if I had? Dad, I couldn't just let you die. If I had, the loss of happiness would have been too great. The Arbiter told me the challenge was the only way to bring you back. The reward could only match what was at stake. So What were you thinking, Ari? You should have gone home. You'd have done the same thing if it were me. Yes, well, you're my daughter. And you're my father, and believe it or not, I don't want to lose you. I did this because I honestly thought you deserved the chance. I've been helping you however I could. But you're not even taking this seriously. How could you say that? You've faced philosophers with so many different ideas, so many different outlooks. Any one of them could have been onto something, but you've torn all of them apart without a thought. Your cutting remarks, your biting comments. You don't really care about getting home, you're just showing off. Look, Ari, it's true I've been getting a little carried away. If I've been good at this stuff, and you've always loved it, I guess I'm just starting to see why. It doesn't matter, does it? In the end, you'll still blaze through the options presented to you, tearing them apart because you're so sure they're wrong. No, Ari, it's actually the opposite. I feel like I don't know anything. I can't accept their ideas without understanding them inside and out. Especially now I know I'm not the only one at stake. I'm not here to prove them wrong. I'm here to see if they are right. Sorry. Why can't like this end with we come back and piece together a solution based on everything we've been told? Huh? Bill was right. You've really been working hard. It's okay, Ari. I understand. Really? Yeah. Your dad's a doofus sometimes. You shouldn't have done something like that. But I'll ground you for it when we make it home. And promise me you'll never take up gambling, okay? You're smart, but you don't have a knack for playing the odds. I guess not. Arbiter. Tired of this stupid world. Bring on your best philosopher. It's high time I provided returns on my daughter's bet. Utility futility. Paid with good intentions. Let's see where this goes. Socrates? Yes, Arbiter? I have been pondering your request that I bring forth my best. It seems to be attempting to assign a quality hierarchy to the philosophers in this realm would be demeaning. I have thus determined that when you requested my best, you meant my most challenging. Wait, what? So on that note, allow me to present to you Immanuel Kant. Oh boy, his thoughts are indeed quite challenging. Oh god. Guten Tag, Socrates Jones. Oh god. Good luck with this one. Could only ever get through the first couple pages of his work. I hope you enjoyed your stay in philosophical kindergarten. For the conflicting methods you have employed to confuse other philosophers will not work here. Why not? No reason. I simply needed to fulfill the prerequisite grandstanding. Grandstanding. Check. Okay then. Kant, if you would please explain your philosophy as clearly as possible. Of course, Arbiter. First, I must counter the unreasoned thoughts of other philosophers. Any truly moral philosopher must, first and foremost, protect human dignity. As consequentialist thought naturally violates our pride as men, we must work from an intentionalist grounding. Excuse me? Already confused? Oh boy. Give me a moment, Air Jones, and I shall explain. Intentionalism. There are many things which men covet as good. However, a focus on consequences reduces men to mere means, undermining human dignity. In reality, the only thing that is good without qualification is goodwill. Thus, we are moral if our will is defined by the intention of doing the moral thing. And there we go. As you can see, I'm approaching this from a different angle than the neophytes you debated before. Alright, intentionalism. I see. So wait. The consequences of actions don't matter at all? At the very least, they are irrelevant to moral worth. Of course, ideally, one's actions would also have positive consequences, but it is positive intentions that are essential to be of moral character. Socrates, are you ready to continue? Alright. Here goes. So far, that doesn't seem too bad. Yes, Arbiter. Ja, let us begin then. What do you mean by this? I believe this is simply stated. Our disorganized society holds many things in high esteem. Back that up. Over your time here, you've encountered individuals who believe good to be found in all sorts of things. Security, happiness, and piety. I believe this diversity is enough to support my premise. Can you clarify this for me? I mean that getting caught up in various ends, whether they be happiness, a social contract, or piety, causes one to lose sight of what is most important. They turn our beings into mere tools for an arbitrary goal. Cogs in a careless and soulless machine. What do you just support this statement? I believe you have actually discovered this yourself, Socrates Jones. Take, for example, John Stuart Mill and his philosophy of utilitarianism. By arbitrarily assigning the status of ultimate end to happiness, the philosophy completely ignores human rights or dignity. Yeah. Hobbes' idea that good rests in security, any rational person would question how much we must sacrifice to enforce such an idea. No, all of these philosophers are looking in the wrong places. They are claiming the contingent and ephemeral as eternal without any justification. Mankind must not be reduced to the means of some other goal. Any philosophy that does so has become mired in consequentialism. Right. I'm sorry I asked, says Socrates Jones. All true morals must be intention-based. Good intentions? What do you mean by this? Goodwill is always good. There is no situation in which harboring goodwill could be immoral. Oh, that is very to the point. Back this up. As a man cannot possibly know the consequences of his actions, it is only fit to judge the will upon which he acts. When this will is good, there can be no doubt that, regardless of effect, his actions were moral in nature. Assessing the will is the only way to keep man as an end, and maintain his dignity. So what you're saying is, when I tell Ari she can't play games all night because I'm concerned for her, my action is noble, regardless of her response. This is correct. Dad. What do you mean by this? As long as we intend to act morally, then we ourselves are moral. This seems pretty straightforward, does it not, Air Jones? But, how do we know whether the intended course of action is moral? By whether or not it adheres to the categorical imperatives, of course. Oh, of course, those. What are those? No, wait, hold on. What? Can't. These things you just mentioned. Categorical imperatives? Yes, what are they exactly? Indeed, I don't believe you ever explained those. My apologies. Categorical imperatives are the moral laws we should seek to discover. Listen closely. I shall explain. If we intend to always do the moral thing, we must develop rules or maxims to shape our actions. There are certain actions which we must always avoid. Other actions we should take at every opportunity. These ideas form rules we must follow at all times, regardless of emotion or consequence. These rules are categorical imperatives. Hey, the confusion people feel about this man's ideas makes sense now. Where should I begin? Can't. Apologies there, Jones. I was momentarily distracted by your beard. It is unsightly. No one stand to have such a blemish upon one's face. Hey, the goatee is one of the few cool things about my dad. Oh, thanks, sorry. Personally, I always liked the sweater vest. Oh, thanks. Arbiter. Well, regardless of how you always feel about my beard and my sweater vest, I have questions for you, Kant. Of course, ask away. What do you mean by this? The morality of an action stems from the rules which govern it. In order to properly assess our intentions, we must therefore clearly define these rules. So, this is very much a continuation of my last argument. Our intentions must be defined somehow, with rules that shape what we should and should not do. Without the guidance of rules, we will truly be lost. What do you mean by this? There are certain things that are clearly always wrong when the maximum behind them is examined. It seems like a grand statement. Do you have an example? Lying is an example. To lie is to spread deceit among men. By a lie, a man annihilates his dignity as a man. Thus one should never lie. Ever. Never lie, alright? What do you mean by this? Certain actions are clearly always good and should be followed. Alright? Give me an example. Helping a dying man. Attempting to render such assistance, one respects human dignity. Thus one should always make the attempt. Ha! See, Dad? Kant also thinks I did the right thing. I thought you weren't much of a Kant fan. Hush! Validation is always nice, even if it comes in a confusing package. Alright, picking up ideas. What do you mean by this? The maxims which we can deem to be imperatives must be treated as if they are laws of nature. Even if in a specific situation the outcome may seem personally painful, we have no choice but to follow them. One cannot simply choose to ignore gravity. I can. My metaphor still works. Why such a strict line? When we deem some maxim to be moral, we must follow it. Or if we do not, then the power of the idea is undermined, and no good could come from it. Huh. What does this mean exactly? Simple. They are categorical, meaning they apply to everyone without exception. They are also imperative, meaning they tell us how to behave. Kant was always making up terms, Dad. That's part of what made him such a lovely read. Back this up. Being a term that I coined and assigned, I don't think that is necessary. I chose the term, so it is the right one. Any ideas, Ari? No, none whatsoever. I told you, I don't understand a word this man says. Wonderful. Back to the top. Yeah, he did give us a bit of an odd reaction here, so... Oh shit, how is this related? It details the extent to which the imperative should affect our lives. Thus, the extent of the applicability of the idea. Let's challenge this.
Nonsense!
Hold on just a moment. Kant, you claim we should never lie, correct? That telling the truth is a categorical imperative. Indeed. This is the prime example of one. Right, and you also claim that we must follow the imperatives without fail, correct? Correct, Air Jones? That's interesting, because using only those two facts, we are already in a worrisome place. Oh? I'll admit that, in most situations, lying is not the most moral of choices. But there's no denying there are some situations where the truth can be deadly. Situations where lying would be the better thing to do. Let's say one was sheltering fugitives from an oppressive regime, keeping them hidden from the forces which would persecute them. It seems to me that keeping them hidden is clearly the right choice, but you would want us to blab to every person that shows up at the door. This strikes me as empirically wrong. Oh, interesting. Way to go, Dad! Nichts schon wieder bitte. Nichts schon wieder bitte. Right. You can swear in German all you want, but I have a point. Earlier, you stated anything that needs qualification can't be the origin of morality. But your prime example of an imperative just demanded qualification. Well, what do you have to say to that, Kant? Doesn't the intention to protect people also have value? Even from your perspective, your law seems far from universal. Nonsense. Did you say nonsense? Excuse me, I have to take my morning walk. He just walked off? He does that sometimes. Do not worry. Oh, you're back. Indeed. My morning walk is completed. Morning walk. Check. Oh, very good. Is there even morning in the intelligible realm? No, there isn't. It is unacceptable. Regardless, back on task. Socrates Jones, the counterpoint you gave earlier was false. That one should not lie still stands as universal. Despite your objections, there is no doubt that to lie in that situation would be immoral. Categorical imperatives stand as absolute, without qualification. But, what? He's seriously standing by his position? Is he even allowed to do that? Remember, Air Jones, consequences are irrelevant. It's only our intention that matters. Become too invested in an individual scenario is to undermine the sanctity of thought. Is the intent to speak truth to bad people? Does that outweigh the intent to protect good people? Once a maxim fulfills the universality test, it can be accepted as a categorical imperative. At that point, we are obligated to obey it, always. The universality test? Ja, it's a method to which we discover and verify categorical imperatives. Allow me to elaborate. Oh no! In order to verify the morality of an idea, one must subject it to the universality test. Imagine a world in which everyone follows the maxim behind your action. If a contradiction or irrationality advises, the maxim cannot be moral. There we go. Explain the universality test. Check. Okay, hold on a moment. What the heck are these things you keep checking off? I have created an agenda. All the tasks which I need to accomplish are presented upon it in sufficient detail. The events of this debate are on your agenda? How is it even possible? Careful planning. Wisdom, Socrates Jones, is organized life. An organized person would be asking questions right about now. Right. It's getting harder and harder to deal with. Can't present something I don't understand. Not sure how much longer I can go. Gotta find something and quick. Oh, here we go. What do you mean by this? We must verify that your maximum stance is valid in all situations. Back this up. We have established our principles must be unquestionably moral, yes? But in order to ensure this is the case, we must create a situation where every potential question would have to be asked. Thus, the universality test is required. What do you mean by this? Essentially, in every situation where someone is faced with a choice where they can follow your maxim or not, and they would follow it. That is the word you will be imagining, a hypothetical test. Back this up, but it's an instruction. If you don't understand it, I could explain it better. Can you explain this further? Of course. Contradiction is a situation in which your maxim defeats itself. Oh, okay. This is one way an idea can fail the universality test. Irrationality is when your maxim would create a world that is worse for wear. That is the other way the universality test can be failed. Ah, interesting. Excuse me? If an idea, after being applied to everyone, creates situations where people may be willed to behave in opposite ways, then your idea is contradictory. As a result, it probably should not be considered. Back this up? Of course. I shall provide a case study. Let us imagine a world where it was accepted that one should lie for their own gain. As the advantages of lying come entirely from deceiving those who tell the truth, in a world where everyone lies, there are no advantages at all. In this way, lying for one's gain contains a contradiction. It simply does not make sense when applied to as a universal law. Man, this guy really hates lying. This is just one example. Anytime an idea creates inconsistencies with itself, it cannot work. Worse for wear? What do you know this? Sometimes the world would be clearly worse off if everyone followed a maxim. For example, if everyone stole from one another, our sense of security would deteriorate. It would be irrational for the will of such a world to be. Thus, stealing is categorically immoral. Ah, interesting. Can you back this up? I think this stands pretty solidly. One cannot will a world which would be worse than this one. Oh god, what do I do? This is getting more and more complicated. Yeah, that's Kant for you. Layer after layer after layer after layer after layer of whatever it is he's laying. Back to the top. Okay, so I think the way through this is we picked up two scenarios here. We need to subject them to the universality test. We are going to have to challenge which fits best where. How is this relevant to your conclusion? This elaborates upon the nature of the contradiction failure. We back this up? Of course. We should provide a case study. One should lie for their own gain. Terms of lying come from entirely from deceiving those who tell the truth. In a world where everyone lies, there are no advantages at all. Inconsistent with itself, worst for wear. So never lie has to go under worse for wear, I think. Hold on. The example I pointed out earlier. It's a problem with the you should never lie principle. I would definitely count as a failure of this test. Herr John's irrationalities refer to a world that is worse for wear, not a situation. A world in which you do not lie is clearly better off than a world where you do. But, as I said before, Herr John's individual examples desecrate the sanctity of thought. And truly, you should be ashamed of yourself. Hey! So we need to disprove. Help the dying man. How does that... Never lie. Present this here.
Nonsense.
Hold on, Kant. I'm pretty sure. Never lying certainly does not fail this test, Herr Jones. However, you delude yourself into thinking it does. Eh? How did he... In a world where everyone told the truth, there would be nothing compelling us to be anything but honest. The comfort of a guaranteed honesty would, in fact, reinforce itself, encouraging others to be honest. As a result, the rule is clear and should be followed without confusion. Thus, always tell the truth does not fail this condition of the test. Oh, okay. If you like, however, I could spell out how lying does. As I have already. Ach, these spiraling debates are so disorganized. Back this up. Ah, yes. That's what he's referring to. But can we challenge this on the grounds that it's not intention-based?
Nonsense.
We can. That just hit me out of the blue. Immanuel Kant, what's the one thing which, from the very beginning of our discussion, you emphasized above all else? Intentionalism, of course. What we will is far more important than what we make. Right, that's what I thought. And that's fascinating. Because checking for irrationality sounds a lot like assessing the consequences to me. What? You claim we cannot will a world that is worse than the one we have now. The fact is, the very act of assessing how the world would be gives weight to consequences. You'd think that you would throw this out, but instead you have this as a key step of the universality test. Determining whether your maxim is a categorical imperative is thus a fundamentally consequentialist procedure. This is not my agenda. It is most impractical. I demand you stop at once. But surely you see my point. It's quite ironic, don't you think? That the process which creates the rules for your intentionalist ideas relies so heavily on assessing consequences. You talk about internal contradictions being grounds for failure. Well, here's a grand one for you. The universality test would fail itself. Incredible. It seems to me that either consequences matter, or your method of choosing ideas is incorrect. So which is it, Kant? Which part is wrong? Intentions and consequences have... It's not an equal weighting. They both deserve to be weighted. But wait, this seems pretty devastating to your ideas. This is your thoughts. So disorganized. Order. I need direction. I need... Nein! Have my philosophical constructs thrown into question. Check. You have done an excellent job here. I would be lying if I said you had not given me much to think about. Perhaps another decade of silence is in order. Silence and thought. Auf Wiedersehen, Herr Jones. Is it over? Yeah, I think so. I guess that's all we're gonna get out of Kant. The end of the road. Oh, here we go. I'm expecting the final debate to kind of like throw all of the ideas we've collected on the idea board so far, or at least have some grand review. And this has to be against the Arbiter, isn't it? Well, that was quite a spirited performance, Socrates. Who would have thought an accountant from New York would turn out to be such a great debater? Thank you, Arbiter. I believe Friedrich Nietzsche has volunteered to discuss his ideas with you next. Oh no! A prominent, if sometimes paradoxical thinker, he is often quoted by the angsty teens of your era. Give me a moment and I will retrieve him. Of course. You okay, Ari? I don't know how you're still doing this, Dad. I mean, look at me. I'm getting tired and I'm just helping out. I know, Ari. I was personally hoping Kant's answer would hold up. At this point, I kind of think the nature of morality is impossible to find. What did you say? Oh, I said, kind of think the nature of morality is impossible to find? Huh. Interesting. Unfortunately, while interesting, that description of the nature of morality is also incorrect. Wait, what? I'm very sorry, but the rules state he only has one chance, and I'm afraid that was it. What the hell? That's completely bogus. My dad wasn't trying to provide an answer just then. He was just thinking to himself. Tell him, Dad. Tell him you didn't intend to make a statement about morality. Dad? Ari, he's right. What? I said was, in fact, a statement about the nature of morality. I can't deny that. I'm glad you're taking this reasonably, Socrates. Again, the deepest of apologies. I hope you'll be able to make yourself comfortable here. Wait, Arbiter, before you leave, can I ask you one thing? I suppose. Why? Excuse me? Why am I wrong? Come now, your stance is full of holes, Socrates. Of that much there is no doubt. So you've said, but why? I'm going to be here forever. I'd like to at least understand why I'm wrong. Very well, Socrates. That is only fair. Allow me to spell it out for you. Final boss time. You've presented your philosophical views. Your premise is foolish, as morality has a tangible impact. The world is clearly bettered when individuals strive to be better. I see little reason to doubt the existence of some form of morality in our world. There we go, Socrates. As you see, your answer is flawed to the core. I see. If you don't mind, Arbiter, I'd like to ask you a few questions. What? Dad, you really intend to challenge the Arbiter? Yes, I do. Now, listen, I don't know if you forgot this, but, he's the Arbiter! So? Ari, you once told me to never let an argument go unexamined, didn't you? Frankly, we both know I'm clueless about philosophy. For all my bombast, it's only because of your advice that we've lasted as long as we have. But Dad, we've encountered many arguments that looked solid on the surface, but each and every one of them had a flaw. If we don't look closely at this one, how can we know it's not the same? Examine everything. There's too much on the line for us to forget that now, no matter how scary our opponent looks. Alright, Dad, I trust you. Well, this is unexpected, Socrates. I confess, you have piqued my interest. I suppose, given all that you have done, some questions are warranted. Ask away, but do not feel too hurt when you come up short. Alright. I can't challenge. Can you clarify this point? It's possible to argue that things don't exist when they cannot be felt. When an impact can be felt, however, such an argument becomes more precarious. That's the case when it comes to morality. How is this related to your conclusion? It outlines why it is difficult to argue that morality does not exist. I mean, we didn't really say that. He didn't ever... I feel like relevance should have a point here, because... What do you mean by this? I think this is pretty clear, Socrates. Mankind is better off when held to a higher standard. In other words, when they adhere to the principles of some form of morality. We never said that morality didn't exist, we just said that it was impossible to define. You back this up? History has been marked by shifts in human temperament. Advances in moral thinking tend to lead to periods of prosperity, while flawed or distorted ideals lead to decline. Seeing this, there can be little doubt that morality betters the world. What do you mean by this? For the reasons I've just stated, it seems that more than likely morality exists. Back that up. I believe I have, Socrates. How is this related to your conclusion? Most ways, this is my conclusion. What are you doing, Dad? I thought you said you would find something wrong in his argument. Did I? I actually have very few problems with his argument. That's what makes me feel like something's off here. Huh? What views were those? Come now, Socrates, do you really need me to outline your own opinions? I just can't help but feel everything would be clearer if you did. Very well then, if you insist. How is this related to your conclusion? Question backing, this is the premise I am debunking. After this, I have nothing to argue against. Can you back this up? Socrates, be reasonable. Did you not say these words yourself? I did not. Alright, Arbiter, I admit, you have raised a strong objection to the idea that morality does not exist, but that's not my argument, ass. Thank you, Socrates. As governor of this realm, it would be tragic if I had not. You see now why such an answer is insufficient. Of course, there's just one problem. That wasn't my answer. What? What you are arguing against is 2 steps removed from what I actually said. You've discredited the non-existence of morality, but I claimed that the answer to morality might not be findable. Well then, those are essentially the same thing. No, they're not. I think we can all agree morality exists in some form, for all the reasons you have described. Even if it were different for each person, as Protagoras argued, there's little doubt we could develop some guidelines for how we should behave. That doesn't mean what we seek, a perfect definition for morality, exists as well. Morality could very well be more abstract, like faith or happiness. Just because it exists doesn't mean there's an objectively best model. Therefore, I can claim a perfect answer does not exist without throwing morality itself out the window. An answer demands morality, but morality does not demand an answer. I can't believe it. We may just survive this after all. As you can see, Arbiter, the argument you've built is a very effective counter. But it's a counter to something I did not claim. I see. I apologize for misunderstanding your initial point, Socrates. Guess it's always important to make sure the person you're debating understands you clearly, huh? So Dad's position makes sense now, right? Does that mean you can accept his answer? Afraid not. His position still has a number of critical flaws. Allow me to explain. Socrates, you claim a flawless answer cannot be found. However, I do not see how this can be possible when there are infinite potential answers. Already here you have seen arguments of many branches and formulations. With possibilities so incomprehensibly vast, surely one must stand as infallible. With this being the case, it is only a matter of time before we find the answer. As you can see, Socrates, as long as the possibilities are infinite, the answer is findable. Interesting argument. Based around a mathematical concept, I see. Now you're in my wheelhouse, said Socrates Jones. Well, you forgot one thing, Arbiter. I'm an accountant. The cold read. The cold read. I deal with faulty numbers all the time. Wow, Dad, I just got shivers. So you already know what the problem here is? Fuck no. Well, no. But I couldn't pass up my one chance to make being an accountant sound cool. Oh, I love it. Remember when I said I trusted you just 5 minutes ago? Don't make me think that. Hey! Being stuck here forever would be bad enough without having made total fools of ourselves. Socrates, do you intend to actually ask me questions? I understand if you do not. You have placed yourself in an unfortunate position. It'd be easier to just admit your error. As if. Okay, Arbiter, let's rumble. Oh, yeah. Let's say progress. We can't actually challenge, so we can't tell. We don't actually have the idea slate here either. So we can't tell the Arbiter his face is ugly. Can you clarify this point? I believe you did that not 5 minutes ago, Socrates. Was that not the core of our previous discussion? Alright, we'll skip this. What do you mean by this? The number of possible solutions that philosophers may think of is not in any way limited. There are infinite possible ideas, and infinite variations of those ideas. Essentially, no matter how many answers we discredit, there will always be another one on the table. Just thinking about that makes me tired. Can you support that statement? There can be little doubt the potential answers are infinite, Socrates. to provide evidence for this in my next statement. What do you mean by this? Over the course of your time here, you have met philosophers with many different ideas. These ideas were not variations of one another. Often they would be entirely different beasts. So there are infinite possible answers because there are infinite possible branches. Each branch of thinking comes from the belief that something is the source of morality, and there are infinite things in the world that could be that source. When we combine or modify these ideas, it is difficult to imagine we would ever reach an end. True enough? Back that up. I don't believe much support is needed. Utilitarianism is a very different beast from the social contract theory, which is in turn different from the categorical imperatives. Philosophy is a world with many paths of thought. So many paths, and that so many of them hardly seem related. Clearly there's an incredible diversity here. I'm not sure I understand. What I'm trying to say here is simple. If you were able to look at every single pattern of thought, there's little doubt the answer would be one of them. Back this up for me. What do you mean? Well, what makes you so sure one of them is perfect? Socrates is the answer, not the infinite itself. Arbiter? Yes, Socrates. The argument you are making here is quite simple on the surface. I can see why, with so many possible answers, you might believe one of them has to be true. Might believe? Correct. But while I understand where you're coming from, I'm afraid infinity doesn't quite work. The thing doesn't quite work the way you think it does. Huh? I don't understand either. What are you talking about, Dad? Okay, time for math lesson. To put it plainly, infinite is not the same as all-encompassing. They may sound similar, but the two are actually very different. There are infinite real numbers between 0 and 1, but none of them are 2. Likewise, there may be infinite potential ways to try to define morality. That does not guarantee one of them is perfect. Well, come now, Socrates. Even if I cannot prove the answer is out there, probability is surely on my side. Philosophical thought is so diverse, the amount of ground which is covered is truly incredible. With this being the case, surely it seems more likely than not that the answer exists, yes? Does it? Over the course of my time here, every philosopher I have encountered has claimed to have the answer to your question. However, close examination revealed that, diverse as they were, all of them had flaws. Come to think of it, that's true. Faced with a parade of great thinkers, all failing to accomplish the same task you have assigned me, my position only seems stronger. There is no evidence that the set of possible answers contains perfection. In fact, it seems extremely unlikely. The fact is, the existence of infinite possibilities does not guarantee certain possibilities among them. Any claim that it does is simply and objectively false. Now, I guess I can understand the mistake. You are the ruler of this realm of ideas, not the realm of facts, after all. Ooh, that's a burn. As an accountant, I could never stand for such an assumption.
Nonsense.
Socrates, let us set aside the witticisms and return to the basics for a moment. You have posited here that there may, in fact, be no provable answer to the question of morality. Yes. You claim, in fact, that there is no evidence to support there being such an answer. Why are you asking so many questions? My dad just said all these things. Sorry. Yes, Arbiter. The existence of infinite answers cannot in itself be considered proof. I see. Well, Socrates, these are all interesting points. I believe there is one important detail you have forgotten. The answer has been found before. Oh? You claim there is no answer to be found, but history stands against you. The great thinker Socrates completed the task and was granted his wish. His answer had to be approved for this to occur. Clearly there is an answer, and it is possible to find. So you see, Socrates, the answer to morality is clearly findable. If it were not, the great thinker would have not been able to find it. Well, that's concerning. Dad? He may have me, actually. I'd forgotten about the first Socrates' exploits. Have he found the answer? I can't really argue with that. Then, this really is the end? Now you understand why I cannot accept your answer. You agree that continuing this debate would be foolish, yes? This is it? Do I have to concede? Even though we came so far? I'm sorry. Arbiter, Ooh, Pythagoras! Worry not, old friend. There is still hope yet. Pythagoras? Not just Pythagoras. Everyone! What are you all doing here? We have come to back you up, old chap. But why? Why? Ingratitude is the essence of vileness. I came to much for our discussion. Now it is time to return the favor. You are in trouble, and the imperative dictates that I assist. Help a dying man, hey! Exactly. There is no happiness gained from watching a friend struggle. I can be most useful here, assisting you for the sidelines. Oh! We formed a contract to find the answer, and I must follow it to the end. We'll work together. And I'm here too, Euthyphro. And you, Euthyphro? My child, you are still a blasphemer. Rest assured, gods will smite you one day. But until then, I suppose I could lend you a hand. Being men, we are all incredibly flawed. Our only hope lies in helping each other. Mankind is flawed. Oh, this is so sweet. Thank you, all of you. All right, Arbiter, I'm not going to give up just yet. This is deteriorating into madness, Socrates. But very well, I shall entertain you a little longer. Okay. What do you mean by this? Maybe an event from the past directly counters your claim. I mentioned this to you earlier, do you not remember? You back that up? Patience, Socrates, I'm about to elaborate. I'll leave this here. What do you mean by this? Many centuries ago, Socrates came to the current Arbiter, claiming he found the answer to morality. This was the last anyone ever saw of him. Back this up? Socrates' absence in this plane is quite conspicuous. Indeed, we have all missed the great thinker. You saw the stir you created just by sharing his name. I don't need much evidence to show that he was granted an exit. What do you mean by this? It's quite simple. If his answer had not been determined to be correct, none of this could have happened. You back that up? The story has been told countless times, Socrates. Indeed, it is legend in this realm. Scripture, even. Okay, I get it. Jeez. What do you mean by this? I mean that there is clearly an answer and it is possible to find. I'm not sure how it could be more clear than that. Even I thought that was the way an organized thought. Thank you, Kant. When you back this up, I believe I just did. As Socrates found the answer must be findable. Proof doesn't get much more simple than that. Socrates? Yes, Mill? I think I see what is wrong here. You have to dig back for this one. Way back. That's about as vague of a hint as he can possibly give. Oh, no, false. Okay. Okay, one thing I failed to do here. Question relevance. How is this related to your conclusion? Socrates, the approval is, in fact, the evidence supporting that the great thinker actually found the answer. After all, it's difficult to believe these things are true, no? Without the judgment of the previous arbiter verifying his answer was indeed correct, I suppose many would have trouble believing it. Huh, interesting. Indeed, we should take note of this, my friend. What do you mean by this? The original arbiter's judgment is what lets us know if Socrates was correct. It's rather straightforward, really. You back that up? Socrates, the original arbiter, is widely respected in this world. Do you really intend to question his judgment? I think we can save again here. How is this related to your conclusion? I just spelled this out for you, Socrates. It's the cornerstone on which my temple of reason is built. Now he's sounding like Euthyphro, maybe Kant, some sick fusion of the two. Let's present this.
Nonsense!
Arbiter? What now, Socrates? You claim that we can be sure that Socrates found the answer, correct? We know this for sure because your predecessor verified its validity. Indeed. That's what I thought. Well then, to demonstrate what's wrong with your argument, I'm gonna cite one of my colleagues here. Euthyphro. Yes, my child. Do you remember your statements on the wisdom of man? Of course. Human beings are fallible and vain. They make mistakes. Gods, however, are... Yes, that's quite enough preaching. Thank you. Now get out of here, Euthyphro. Now, Arbiter, let me make this clear for you. Euthyphro may have been wrong about where morality comes from, but he was right about this. Human beings are far from perfect. We can never forget this. We're at the point, which is exactly what I was hoping for, where we would start, like... We've stopped pointing out all their flaws was valuable. But we stopped rejecting them and starting to pick the pieces from their various philosophies, which do hold true. There's good to be gained from them, even if they aren't universal. As flawed beings, the answers we formulate will be similarly flawed. As a result, I find it hard to believe that Socrates really did find the answer. What? The fact is, as imperfect beings, we must always remember we are flawed. And when we go far enough to claim that our answer is perfect, we close our minds. Ja, it is true. I know from experience. I, too, have fallen into this trap. Indeed, even the best of us can succumb. For this reason, we must never assume we have the answer. But Socrates, the first arbiter, are both human, or human-like entities at the very least. Regardless, how far do we know that their judgment, their answer, was not in error? You've admitted your fair share of mistakes today. There's no reason the previous arbiter couldn't have made some as well. And how do you know that the previous arbiter didn't approve the same answer that we just gave you? You can't base the credibility of your entire argument upon an appeal to authority. Very well put, Socrates. Indeed, even I'm convinced you could have been wrong all those years ago. Right. Arbiter, if a false conclusion was presented convincingly enough, even your predecessor could have made a mistake, thus leading to the discovery of an answer that was actually impossible to find. It's still possible the perfect answer is outside of our reach. So as you can see, you haven't proven anything. Very well, Socrates. You have a point. I confess that, even with the backing of the original arbiter, I cannot prove that an answer exists. Yes, I knew it. However, go and celebrate, I wish to point out that you cannot reasonably prove that it does not. With us at such an impasse, it all boils down to a matter of potential consequences. Let us assume for just a moment that what you have postulated here is true. Let us say for a moment that morality cannot be found. I cannot believe you truly understand the consequences of your suggestion. Let me show you why what you claim cannot possibly be right. Socrates, you have just argued that we can never be sure of our answers. If that is the case, then there is no point to what we do here. Might as well all give up and become accountants. Oof! There's no way we can accept a theory with such horrible consequences. That is my position on the matter. How? How could you say such a thing, Arbiter? You've just devalued everything we do here. There is no happiness to be gained from that. I am merely showing the worrisome implications of Socrates Jones's argument. If you take issue with him, you should take it up with him. I knew it. I knew you were up to no good, my child. Trying to lower us all to your level. Makes you into accountants. Oh, shut up, Euthyphro. The Arbiter's clearly strawmanning Dad, distorting his argument in order to make it sound weaker. Dad doesn't actually want everyone to become accountants. Right? Of course not. Oh, good. Thank the gods. Arbiter, you must be getting desperate to resort to such tricks. Even if what you said here were true, the fact that a conclusion is uncomfortable does not mean it should be ignored.
Nonsense.
It does, however, mean that we should be wary of accepting it. I must confess, old chap, I would find it hard to believe anything that created such an outcome. As would I. It would be foolish to jump into water so brimming with sharks. Well, then I suppose I'll just have to show that there are no sharks, won't I? That the consequences of my argument are not nearly so disastrous. Very well, Socrates, but first, let me issue an ultimatum. This is your last chance. Oh boy, my last... What? You gave your answer. The game is already over. It's only through my mercy that it continues. Your damaging claims are beginning to wear my mercy thin. You cannot show why this conclusion isn't disastrous. I will refuse to accept it, as you once refused Hobbes. I find it impossible to believe that the answer would be one that made the search itself meaningless. So again, this is your last chance. Alright, Arbiter. One last chance is all I need. I'll show you once and for all why my viewpoint can stand. Oh, here we go. So... Oh gods, give me the strength to assist this ingrate. Oh, we're so close. I can feel it. I'm going to have to use everything I know to get past this. Just a little more. I can't let Ari down. Not now. What do you mean by this? You just said we should never assume we have found a perfect solution. Is that not correct? No, I guess it is. What do you mean by this? I mean that we as philosophers serve no purpose if a ridiculous conclusion is to allow it to stand. I believe that thought is pretty clear. Clear enough for me to wonder if you are wasting my time. Can you back that up? Yes, please do. The logic that supports this idea is fairly intuitive, but I shall spell it out. Your conclusion stands, and our efforts to define morality may have always been reaching for an impossible goal. Reaching for something that is forever out of our grasp. If that goal is impossible, all our effort toward it is clearly a waste. If your roads don't lead anywhere, what's the point of building them? These 2 points laid bare, there can be little doubt that our efforts are useless. With that said, though, I don't think we should forget these points. I'd like to look at them more closely. What is relevant? Details the central problem your reasoning creates. Alright. What do you mean by this? As philosophers, it is our duty to seek the answers to questions such as the nature of morality. If your conclusion was accepted as true, no matter how hard we work, these questions will never be answered. Back that up? It is supported by your stated outlook. You claim it is impossible to obtain a solution, or to be certain of it at the very least. If this is the case, all efforts to do so are misguided. I don't understand. Can you elaborate? Socrates, the duty of every moral philosopher is to create a perfect definition of morality. This is what we all work for. And if we can't find some perfect answer, our efforts are in vain. I believe all of this has been made clear before. Not as clear as it was made just now. What do you mean by this? Simply that if we cannot find the absolute answer, then nothing we find will ever stand up to a thorough examination. All flawed assumptions will eventually be discarded. Might as well recognize their worthlessness now. Can you back that up? Must I really? It strikes me as fairly obvious. Perfect answer is the only answer worth pursuing. Perfection is indeed desirable, but it is elusive. Arbiter, I think I've finally figured out what's wrong with your entire position. Have you now? Remember, you will not get another chance. I know. I don't need one. This, Arbiter, is the end. Very well, Socrates. Tell me then, what is wrong with my position? It's quite simple, really. A classic fallacy. You are assuming a solution must be perfect to have value, but that's not the case. In fact, such an assumption strikes me as fundamentally wrong. Late to the party, can't. I just realized that over half of us have facial hair. I'm not sure how to cope with my distress. God, please. Right, anyways. Perfection is, as a general rule, an attractive prospect in every field. But things do not have to be perfect to add value to the world. Let's look at art. Even works as great as the statue of David or the Mona Lisa are not without their flaws. Despite their flaws, can there be any doubt the world is a brighter place because such works exist? Oh, that's as Mill would say. They are still good because they increase happiness. Exactly. Whether or not Mill's ideas dominate, increasing overall happiness is clearly one way an imperfect work can contribute. But under your logic, none of these works should have meaning. Would have meaning. That's the real disastrous conclusion here. There's no happiness to be gained from that. Look at the people around you, Arbiter. All these philosophers came forward with their own visions of morality. Ultimately, their views all turned out to be flawed. Does that make their ideas worthless? Of course not. Their theories have had a profound positive impact on the world. Anyone in my high school philosophy class could tell you as much. Flaws and all, their attempted moral systems stand stronger than those created without thought, and the importance of this is palpable. Just because perfection might be unattainable does not mean we should not try. It only means we cannot expect to succeed. This is quite impressive, old friend. Yeah, we can't expect to succeed. The idea is, think of it as like a limit. As a limit in calculus. You might never reach think of it as like a limit in calculus that's approaching infinity. And a limit as x approaches infinity, x will never actually reach infinity, but x will get very, 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 very close. Very, very close, but never reach it. Indeed, you may truly have it, Herr Jones. True, it is our duty to keep questioning, always and forever. For while we can never assume our ideas are perfect, if we don't keep searching, we'll miss the chance to find something better. The fact we can never be sure does not mean we should not hypothesize. The goal may be unattainable, but all the progress made toward it is still a fundamental good. In a way, searching for morality is, in fact, the most moral thing you can do. What do you have to say to that, Arbiter? I say. Arbiter? Oh, wonderful, you broke the sovereign. Now we'll have to get a new one. No, I'm fine. It's just funny. Funny? Yes, funny. I realize now I have become arrogant in my time ruling this plane. I simply assumed a perfect answer was out there, waiting to be found, despite the fact that the one I had found myself so many years ago was wrong. And to think it would be you who would put the pieces together. It's humorous, really. Are you the real Socrates? What are you talking about? He is not wise because of what he knows, but because he knows what he does not know. People used to say this about me all the time. Now I believe it better applies to you. Wait, hold on. You? Yes, that's right, Protagoras. I am, or was, the great thinker Socrates. What? Called it. You what? Yeah, I figured it out like an hour ago. An unverifiable claim, but there is no denying this one is sharp enough. Regardless, finding the answer was my greatest accomplishment. I convinced the old arbiter I had found the solution. I even briefly convinced myself. As a result, I won the challenge. The arbiter gave me his mantle and told me I was to take his place as the ruler of this realm. I took it and became what you see now. But you said Socrates left. And you didn't immediately recognize me as not you. My friend, why would you go so far to hide your identity? I gave up who I was to oversee this realm. As Socrates, I may have been respected. I also made my fair share of enemies. I felt that, having found the answer, it was only appropriate to distance myself from all of that, to better guide others toward the truth. Of course, once I realized my solution was, in fact, incorrect, I became determined to goad someone else into finding it. Everyone's thinking that perhaps it could be unreachable. In a way, the old Socrates did leave that day. But now, I think, you brought him back. Well then, Socrates Jones, I think it's time I finally granted you your wish. You mean... Yes, it's time for you to head on home, both of you. I can't believe it. Did it! We actually did it! But wait, hold on. Does this mean you accept my answer as true? Am I a pro-philosopher? Certainly not. By your very own logic, you know I cannot do that. I do, however, accept your answer as the best I will receive right now. I cannot ask for better than that. So, this is for real this time. No tricks. You can just walk through? Of course, Ariadne. What do you take me for? Just making sure. Dad, do you know what I'm going to do first when I get home? What? Sleep. Sounds like a plan. Ahem. Well then, Hobbes, Mill, Protagoras, Kant, Euthyphro, Socrates, Prime. I guess this is it. Goodbye, Herr Jones. You will be missed. Indeed, it was a pleasure making your acquaintance. I will miss you, Socrates. You are almost as intelligent as the original. A powerful compliment coming from you, Protagoras. Thank you, all of you, for everything you've done. An extra big thank you to you. Mill? Seriously, you are just as awesome as I thought you'd be. I'm gonna miss you. Now, Ariadne Jones, you are going to make this old man blush. Let's not single anyone out, Ari. Everyone here has been great. Except for maybe you, Euthyphro. What? Now wait a minute. Come on, Dad. Let's go. I've had enough of this weird floating architecture for a good long time. Alright, Ari, lead the way. Oh! Farewell, great thinker Jones. Oh, I didn't acknowledge that's a great thinker. See you again in a few dozen years. What does that mean? Oh. Here we go. Wake up at the hospital. Freaking out the nurse who thought we were dead. Oh man. Okay, that was a fun ride. That was an unbelievably fun ride. My god. Oh, there's Euthyphro reaching again. Mill and Protagoras. Oh! Ari's giving a presentation about Hobbes. Can't believe he had a fucking deer. Oh. Kant trying out a fake mustache. Oh my god. What a funky dude. Oh? Socrates? The original Socrates. Oh, fucking deer repellent. What? Who bought all the deer repellent? Did someone steal the deer repellent? What the heck? Or maybe fucking Socrates bought all the deer repellent because he caused the strangest occurrence of his life. I have vague memories of there being like a secret final chapter. Then Veronica was all, actually, I think Kant is the best philosopher. Did you tell her he hates beards? Oh, of course. So I tell everyone about my trip to the afterlife. Hey, for a near-death experience, it was pretty cool. Mother found it very interesting. Shark, she didn't try to have me committed. I mean, she found it ridiculous and was humoring her concussed ex. Oh, look, I'm pooped. I think I'll take a nap. You sure? There's a council debate on soon. Your favorite. Haha, very funny. Have fun with that. It's nice to have things back to normal last. Is that you, Ariadne Jones? What? What? Must say, this is a much earlier visit than I anticipated. But...
Nonsense!
Ari? To be continued. To be continued. In Pro Philosopher 2! Now I need to actually check and see if the sequel involves Ari in some way. I legitimately need to check. Because... Yeah, there's Pro Philosopher 2. Yeah, it is literally headed by Ari. Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah. Oh boy, I see Karl Marx. That's gonna be fun. Oh. Oh. We see Karl Marx. We see Machiavelli. And we are going to meet. We are going to meet Ari's mother. Oh yes. Oh yes. Philosopher 2, Governments and Grievances, releases October 8th. Will this... If I time my uploads right, it will be next Tuesday. When we let loose with it'll be next Tuesday when Philosopher 2 comes out. Honestly, after playing this game, I'm really kind of excited for that. Its next game looks to be a touch longer, and with, gotta say, this game really did make just the core ideas of some of the most prominent schools of thought in history. Very digestible. Not gonna lie. Got its stinger bonus. What? Why are you here? Oh my god, this is the fucking... What do you mean by this? There are other games with similar mechanics, I hear. This is the fucking game trailer on Steam. This one's built around specific questions that inspire healthy discussion and understanding. Ask for clarification this one. We just used it, partner. Well, your face is ugly. Oh, what'd you go and say that for? I'm gonna hurt my feelings. Sorry, don't know what came over me. As you face off against various philosophers of all sorts. What do you mean by this? Most characters in the game are big-time philosophers from history. Perhaps made a little more outlandish. Humbug. Yep, that hob sure needs a hug. You go first. Also got jokes. What do you mean by this? Has lines that are funny. This isn't one of them. That. Prove it. What? Make a joke. Can't just demand someone make a joke, partner. That puts them on the spot. Since expectation's too high, you're trying to make me fail. Jeez, okay, sorry. What do you mean by this? 500,000,000 people played the original. Can you believe that? Had some glowing reviews from Jay's Games and Rock Paper Shotgun. I don't remember that era of the internet. Seeing this re-release is even more polished, it's a sure winner, partner. What's so good about the game? Folks said it was fun and funny. They also said it had nice art and sick bops. In the new version, everything's rendered as a higher resolution in widescreen. You can appreciate all my products in lowest HD. Improved art. Oh boy. Those darn devs also added some fine QOL and achievements, dynamic saving, and controller support. Quality of life. Don't forget they're doing it all for free. In fact, that's impressive enough. Whoa. Of course, how could I forget that? Free! What do you mean by this? Well, you want the game right now, by now, right? Give me some money and I'll get you a copy. How much money? 100 seems fair. 100? I said what I said. False!
Nonsense!
I'm sorry, Billy. You won't get a cent from me. What? Do you not want to play Philosopher? Just look at this lovely box. Oh, I do, desperately. That's neither here nor there, because the game is free. Maybe Philosopher is worth $100. Well, maybe it's worth 1,000. The question here is not what the game is worth, but it's whether I need to buy it from you. And since the game is free, I can spend that money on something else. Like Baldur's Gate, or Fortnite dances. Or, I was thinking more like a nice new hat, but sure. Really, you made an excellent argument I should play Pro Philosopher. Acclaimed, educational, and funny. It sounds pretty darn neat. All that is coming at no cost. I don't have to pay a thing. Doesn't sound like the best business model, but it is pretty sweet. Fine, I guess that's how it's gonna go. I'll find someone else to give me 10,000 cents instead of nonsense. That's over. His puns are worse than yours. My puns are phenomenal. Well, I'm gonna go tell everyone about Pro Philosopher and keep an eye out for the sequel. Clearly, everyone should, which releases on October 8th. Okay, that was fun. Alright. You know what I think about that? Your face is ugly. Well, your face is ugly. Oh, why'd you have to go and say that for? I'm gonna hurt my feelings. Sorry, don't know what came over me. You know what I think about you, bro? Your face is ugly. Well, your face is ugly. Carry on, please. Protagoras, you were a good friend to me, but you know what? Your face is ugly. Well, your face is ugly. What a way to speak to an old friend after so many years. Hey, I didn't mean it. Honest. You know what I think about you, Hobbs. Your face is ugly. Well, your face is ugly. Ignored me. Rude. Arya's gonna kill me for this, but, Mill? Well, your face is ugly. That is. Don't listen to a single word he says. My dad doesn't look at a mirror very often. Hey! Deserve that one. Alright. Can't. You're a strange one, but your face is ugly. Well, your face is ugly. Have face called ugly with little justification or reason. Check! Understandable. Have a good day. Alright, this is the first point we get to use the idea slate here, so... Your face is ugly. Well, your face is ugly. Socrates, do you really think this is a good idea? Maybe. Well then. Perhaps it is time for a harsh wake-up call. Time has come to end this charade. Wait, just give me one more chance and... No, Socrates. I've given you more than enough chances. Those chances have now worn themselves through. Hope you'll be able to make yourself comfortable here, Socrates. This is your final stop. Goodbye, Socrates Jones. No, I was so close. Maybe if I had taken a more focused approach. Maybe if I hadn't called him ugly. Is this really the end? Game over. And that's a fitting way to end that little montage at the end of this. Thank you for watching. This was really fun. It really was philosophy presented in a really interesting and digestible manner. Really amazingly, you captured that Ace Attorney puzzle structure in a really engaging way. I can see why this was so well loved when it came out, both originally and this remake here. And we're gonna play the sequel. It's really fun dynamic between Ari and Socrates, and the sequel has Ari in the starring role with Ari's mom in the picture here. It deals with political philosophy, and I'm really intrigued to see what they'll cook up there. Like I said, that comes out next Tuesday. So give that a look if you're interested in the in this series and in what they're cooking. Because I really am now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really intrigued. Because I have to double check and see when this came out. The remake was released 2023. So last March. Still a very solid. I don't know exactly
Nonsense.
what the original looks like per se here. But oh my god, this
Nonsense.
oh no. John Locke gets the votes. Confucius is here. Confucius is here. Machiavelli looks like Batman. God, this looks like a ton of fun. Debate this. God, this looks like a lot of fun. This is October 8th. I'm unreasonably excited for how good that looks. Let's say. Like, this is clearly... Hell, this on its own holds up, but... Pro Philosopher 2 looks even better. Like, everything about the setup and layout of the first game with... Let's say, it looks like completely redone sprites for the Arbiter and Ari. And of course, a whole slate of new characters coming through. So... Hell yeah. It's just a ton of fun. We'll see what happens then. Until next time. Until then. Nonsense.